Hello, it's Paddy here from Creative Media. Today I'm not talking about anything creative or media or even technological at all. I'm talking about paint stripping. I've got this door which has got a pretty good coat. Must be a good outdoor paint, I reckon. But it's starting to flake off in a few places, and we also want it green, we don't want it black. Now I'm not too keen on using some of the more vicious paint strippers, the kinds where you've got to wear gloves and eye protection and respiration and that kind of stuff. Plus, they're not very good for the environment either. I thought I'd try out this Eco Solutions paint and varnish remover, which claims to be non-toxic and not bad for your skin. There's no warnings about getting it in your eyes. You could probably eat it and get away with it. Whereas the ones like Nitromores, I wouldn't want them anywhere near my face, let alone eating them. I'm not going to eat this one either today. I'll leave that to somebody else to do for their extreme paint stripping. As you can see, this paint's not easy to get off. I've been scraping away for a long time and it's not really coming off very easily. So I'm painting on this thick gloopy stuff, which has a slight kind of lemony smell. It does smell like something you could imagine eating. And on a hot day like this, some kind of cool yogurty stuff would be quite nice. Anyway, I must resist. I'm using a normal paintbrush. I'm not going to need any thinners to get this stuff off. I can just rinse it in water. It's pretty benign stuff. I've left this on for just over an hour, and I'm having a bit of a scrape away with my paint scraper. They recommend using a stainless steel wire scrubber like you get for washing up, but I haven't got one of those, so I'm using the scraper, which is okay. It's taken off the black coat, but it's leaving behind the undercoat, so that's not really great. I'm going to have to get that undercoat off as well, which means doing it twice, so I'm not impressed so far. Never mind, I'll give it a second coat and leave it even longer this time. A bit more scraping. It's getting a little bit more off, but I'm not really that impressed by that. And it's also making the wood a bit damp and soggy. I'm putting a few gouges in the wood because it's wet. And at £15.65 for this 1 litre tub, it's not the cheapest of things either. There's a lot of waiting and not very good results. In the process of making this video, I came across a different technique. A tried and tested method of getting paint off is using a blowtorch to heat it up, and it'll bubble up and you can scrape away at it. My blowtorch is a rather cheap butane one, which isn't recommended to be kept on for very long because it'll probably catch light in your hand and blow up or something, which doesn't really appeal to me. So instead of doing that, I'm putting a small amount of meths on the door, setting light to it, standing well back, keeping my bottle of meths well away, the blowtorch well away, and keeping a good eye on it as well to make sure the fire doesn't get out of control. That's why I'm working on a small area. And then I'm going to wait a little bit before scraping. If you scrape straight away, the paint will be melted and you'll just be spreading the paint and the undercoat around, and you'll end up with the same problem of having to do it a second time, like I was complaining about earlier. If you wait for it to cool a bit, then you'll find scraping just with the scraper will get that paint off a lot more easily than it was before. Safety considerations which you must take are: have a big towel in a bucket of water, and if that fire gets out of control, throw that towel over it and that will put out the fire. Don't just chuck water on there, because a lot of burning chemicals will float on the top of the water and then you'll have the fire somewhere else as well. Use a wet towel and that will smother the flames and stop them getting anywhere else. Also, make sure you've removed all the paint scrapings, brush them off before you set fire to anything. Otherwise those paint scrapings might well catch light as well, and if nothing else they might scorch your door, or they might actually set light to the door. Don't use anything like petrol or paraffin. I'm using methylated spirits. You can use isopropyl alcohol as well, but that's quite a lot more expensive. Both these chemicals have got a fairly cool burning temperature, and they're a lot easier to manage, and they're less likely to set light to the door itself. Thanks for listening, and happy stripping!